Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for coming. I'm Erin Duffy. I'm the co-chair of the Advocacy Committee for WLA, and I see here some familiar faces and some new faces. So thank you all for coming, and we will go ahead and get started. Today is all about our Washington Schools Need Teacher Librarians campaign, and what exactly we're doing, why we're doing it, how you can help, and a chance to ask questions. So to kick us off, I want to introduce to you Carolyn Logue, who is our WLA lobbyist, who is going to go through the legislation itself and kind of tell us the meat of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and then we will go from there. So Carolyn, if you want to take it away.
Sure. Do I have slide control or do I need to let you know?
I think if you just let me know, I'll click.
Okay. All right. So first of all, I'm just looking, somebody said they were having trouble hearing. So Nathan, can you hear me okay? Waiting for, hopefully he can hear me. Okay. Yes. Okay, great. So Carolyn Logue, I'm the lobbyist. Just going to run through sort of a little bit of things we've done and where we are now really quick. So I think right now what we've heard a lot is we see school libraries being taken out of schools or librarians not hired. I mean, it's just been a problem for years in our school districts. It's really interesting because there's been a lot of things that have happened over the years. First of all, there is a law, and I'll get back to this again. There is a law that actually says that school boards are supposed to be providing resources for school library. Originally it was school libraries. It was updated in 2015 to school library information technology programs. We also made sure that school librarians, teacher librarians specifically, are part of the prototypical school model, and that so are library materials. So you have allocations coming from the state as part of basic education to the school districts to provide money specifically for teacher librarians and school library materials. The problem is with the prototypical school, it is not a mandate, it is an allocation. And then over the years, we've also gotten librarians involved working with the state legislature in open educational resources, in media literacy education, and digital citizenship education, and a number of other functions. Including the big media literacy and digital citizenship bills that passed and digital equity bills that passed in the last few years. So the state legislature has been listening, but the problem is getting back to RCW 28A 320240. That is the bill that was created. That is the law that was created back, I think, in the late 80s, that said that school boards should provide resources for a school library. And then it has the words "as they deem necessary." So if you want to go to the next slide, Erin. So when they put that bill in, those words in, because basically probably what happened, and because we ran into this when we updated it to school library information technology programs, and it very clearly says what those are, that they're run by a teacher librarian, specifically a certified teacher librarian. That when they put those words "as they deem necessary for the proper education of the district students or as otherwise required by law or rule of the superintendent of public instruction," what that did is it gave school boards an out. And when the prototypical school model wasn't a mandate, that wasn't something that was otherwise required by law or rule. So it kind of gives them the ability to say, we don't have to do a school library program. We are supposed to, but we don't have to because we don't deem it necessary. So what our bill does is removes those words "as the board deems necessary for the proper education." So it will just read, school boards shall provide resources for a school library information technology program. And then what we do instead of that first sentence is say that so that every student in the school district has access to these programs. This basically will require the districts to have a school library information technology program that accesses and benefits all students, but doesn't get specific about how. how the district will do this. And this is very important because, and we can go to the next slide now. Next slide. This is very important because we want to make sure we have a bill that passes. So we've met with both the education chairs for the House and the Senate. They are the same people with basically, just so you know, the elections basically change nothing in Washington state. We have the same number of Democrats, same number of Republicans, mostly the same people in charge. There's a few chairs that are moving around just because some people left, and that's it. So this chairs of the House and Senate education committees are all on board. We've been working also with the governor's policy staff on doing this as well, all very supportive of trying to do something to make sure that all students have access to school library information technology programs. So go to the next slide, please. Okay, so what is happening? Anyhow, so getting rid of this, it is the next step. We've done all these other things. The state has provided the allocate. We've done everything. This is the next step. We want to make sure that they have to have the program overseen by a certified teacher librarian. And it's not the end goal. It's going to be multi-step. But what we need to do is we need to do this in a way that we don't have school districts, and they will come in and oppose this, saying this is a mandate. We can't afford to do this. So what we're doing is we're saying we're just getting rid of this, saying you have to have the program. There has to be something there. We're going to leave it open to how you do it. We're going to hopefully work to get some money in the budget for OSPI to help, especially small school districts, but really giving the districts some time to get this going. There'll probably be some effective dates and that type of thing. So really giving them some time to get this going and figure out how they're going to do it. Because if we went in and just said, we want one librarian in every single school in the state, the cost would be tremendous. And you would have probably a bill that went nowhere. So we're doing this in baby steps, which is usually the best way to do legislation. Let's get them used to the idea that they have to have this, figure out how to do it, and see the benefits. We need grassroots support because the legislators will be hearing from their districts about how awful this is and how they're not going to be able to afford this. And this is going to take money away from math and science and social emotional learning. So we're going to need good grassroots calls and discussions with legislators to counter all of those objections. We also need to make sure that we're working as hard as we can at the local level to find those supportive administrators, the supportive superintendents, and school board members who are willing to say, we're going to do this. And plus, we need to get out to parents. We need parents saying we need a library, we need the school library in the schools. So it's going to have to be, we really need all of you. I can't do that from Olympia. This is something that needs to be on the ground, feet on the ground for all the school librarians and the Washington Library Association members to work on. Next slide. I see somebody has the stats on how many districts in Washington State have librarians in every school. Erin, is that on the website? You're muted.
I know, I'm sorry. My mouse doesn't want to do what I'm telling it to do. It is on the website. We will get to that shortly. And then, but you can also go to liveslide.org to go straight to some of that data that was done by Deb Cagle.
Great. So why does this matter to all librarians? And I think you guys all understand this. Teacher librarians lay the information literacy groundwork for future users of academic and public libraries. We want them to go on to their secondary education. And even if they don't go to secondary education, how do people participate in their lifelong learning? Even if they don't go physically to a library, teaching them about how a library actually through the internet can help them find the right resources they're looking for is also very important. Teacher librarians provide the foundation for students who desire a career in science, technology, engineering, and math and the arts. I think people think that this is just about reading. No, it's not. You've got maker spaces, you've got the resources, you've got the ability and the assistance that you can provide to all the other teachers in the school with the information needed in terms of digital citizenship, media literacy, and how to find the information and the right answers they need. In addition to just showing them how to use that wonderful tool that we know is the internet properly to find out information they need about where they're going to go. And then, of course, teacher librarians are on the front lines of protecting intellectual freedom. This is going to be really important this year and something we need to be very cognizant of with some of the ban the books. And what we need to do is, this is not about that. This is about making sure that every district has that trained staff person who knows how to work with parents and who knows how to work with teachers, school board members, administrators, et cetera, on developing the right policies and principles that work for that district. It's why every district needs their own, so that they can work with the policies that come from the Washington School District Administrators, or School District Association, School Directors Association. But it's why every district should have that trained person in their district working with them. And then teacher librarians are also colleagues. All libraries benefit from greater access and funding for school libraries, because that hopefully leads to more children and more students learning how to use those libraries and then becoming effective advocates for public libraries and other types of libraries as they move on through their lives. Next slide. And the local research backs this up. You can find this on the WLA websites. In 2015, we commissioned a study in association with OSPI and the Washington State Library that looked at how school libraries were doing right then, but also to evaluate the relationship between a quality school library where an actual defined school library information program was in place that was staffed by certificated teachers, librarians, and how that impacted student achievement. And it found that there was an impact on student achievement in all subject areas. The students were more likely to perform better on standardized tests. The presence of that certificated teacher librarian on staff is a high relationship to a school's 5-year graduation rate. So making sure that those kids who are struggling have the resources they need to get out in a reasonable time frame and actually get their diploma. Students who have access to on-staff, certified teacher librarians, the CTLs, have more equitable access to technology and library facilities. So it's really about, when everybody talks about equity in education, a school library and the availability to use the school library and its resources is important to that. They have greater access to databases and resources. We know that for a fact. And they also are more likely to be taught information technology, media literacy, digital citizenship, and other technology fluency skills. The state actually has a basic ed goal that's online, on par with reading and math, on information technology, literacy, and fluency. And librarians are a key part of that. And then, of course, they're not currently equally distributed around the state. We know that for a fact. Our numbers are showing this. So this is really important. These are good talking points to bring up when you're talking to administrators. The information will be all on the website for you to use. And is that my last slide? Or do I have one more? Oh, just the last one. I can do this, and Erin can do it too, but we need you to do this. So first of all, I'm going to start and I'll let Erin pick it up. I'm going to tell you something about legislators. They act grumpy sometimes, but the reality is you brought them in, you can take them out. They need to listen to you. They do not know about libraries. They are not school librarians. You are the one with the knowledge, the information, and and you can show them and tell them about why this is so important. You cannot be afraid of your legislators. I don't care what party they represent. School libraries are important for every single person. If you're going in to talk to, I always say, if you're, know who you're talking to before you go talk to them. Know who they are, know what they're about, and find the things that you can find that will, that you can talk to them about that will agree with. They are I don't even know that we have any legislators anymore. The ones that were really into book banning either didn't come back or were unelected by another Republican. So moderate Republicans won this year in our state. They are very much, what you're going to find is Democrats are going to be all there, but they're going to be like, oh, how do we, is this going to take away from something else? What are we going to do? So you need to make sure you're talking about how you're going to do the equity and how you're going to provide the information and all that type of thing. With Republicans, a really good talking point for school libraries, and I'm just going to emphasize this, is the efficiency you provide in the district and in the school. I think that is understated about how, I don't know how many times I've heard schools say, oh, we're going to have a library in every classroom or a computer, all these resources. The reality is schools can't do that. You guys provide an efficiency. You provide an efficiency in a central location for all sorts of different education, instruction, collaboration, and resources and technology. And that helps a school save money. And not to mention when you actually let the librarian do the textbook, tracking the textbooks, because a teacher librarian has been taught how to do that. So these are the things that you can do in a school, and they resonate with everyone. The big thing that resonates with everyone is, of course, the student achievement, the student access to the information, and the ability to let students figure out how to learn and learn how to learn. So I'll let Erin go from there.
Thanks, Carolyn. And excellent points, especially when it comes to talking to the legislators and kind of figuring out what they are about. And we have our broad message, but then tailoring it just a little bit can be really impactful. And I would say when speaking with legislators that are of a more conservative bent or are Republican, also talking about job development and like job force development tends to resonate as well. That can be another strong point to go with, in addition to the wonderful tidbits Carolyn offered. So this slide comes straight from our website, which we're going to work backwards. I'll show you the website in a moment. And it's all about contacting your representatives, ways that we have tried to make it easier for you to do that. This goes straight to the our legislator website, where you can find out who your representatives are and contact them directly from the page. And then we have a form letter that you can take and modify for yourself and send that. I do recommend that you modify it, personalize it, make it your own, add things, take away things so that they're not getting the same letter over and over. I mean, there is one tactic where it's just like, let's flood them and show them like a million people want to hear the same message. But also, if you really want them to read the message and we really want them to understand the importance of librarians, tailoring those letters can be really important. But there's a template you can start from. That third bullet point goes to another website, kind of for a different, slightly different group, but they've got some really great advice about inviting legislators to visit your school library, how to write that letter, how to plan the day, how to make it appealing to the person you're inviting, and then how to make it useful for them and for you. Some really great advice there that can be used. And I would say with that, not just inviting legislators to come visit your library, which would be great, and we want you to do that, but also your school board members, your superintendent. Your superintendent may have never seen your library, and we need our superintendents to support us and to get behind us and to understand the importance of libraries, school libraries, and how much of a positive impact we can have on their ability to support student success, right? So think about inviting some of those local but higher level policymakers and decision makers using that same form. We are also going to have a postcard campaign. So this fourth link goes there, where if you've got a strong and active PTA that loves and supports your library, you can order a pack of our postcards and hand them out. They write, "We love our library, support bill such and such," and send it off. And so there's that link, and we'll have a little bit more information about that later as well, I think. So there's a lot of ways right here on this page, to get involved and to voice your support. And, when doing kind of this grassroots work, we need to voice our support up and out. So make sure, get your teachers that you've worked with and collaborated with, tell them about what's going on. Ask them to send a postcard. Ask them to, talk you up to your admin or write a letter to the superintendent or to the board. Go to the PTA meeting, and, you can't advocate and campaign necessarily, but you could say, "Hey, aren't libraries wonderful?" and kind of stir that pot. And then, of course, talking directly to those policymakers and decision makers. So this is something that Craig Seasholes and I worked on, I guess maybe earlier this year, and it's on the WLA website, but it's be an advocate for your school library. This is particularly for the school librarians, but It's definitely applicable to all of us in library land. Just different ways you can really make it known what we do. So often we kind of work like Batman, we work in silence, work in the dark, but we do something really important, and we need to be willing to speak up about it. And there's different ways to do it, you know, contacting elected officials, use image, data, and anecdotes to tell your library story. I do an end of the year report that I send out to all of my families in my school saying, here's how many books we circulated, here's how many new books we got, here were our top, you know, here's how many students did this and that. Just to show that like this is an active, vital part of the school. Go to the school board meetings, go to the community meetings, invite folks in. Don't be shy to accept those awards. For every school librarian in Washington that gets an award, that's like a feather in the cap that we can use to kind of support our cause here. When you win those awards, it's not just for you, it supports all of us. Put it in the newspaper, tag it on social media, and then of course, say thank you to your supporters, your advocates, and your school officials. And not just, yes, the quick little thank you emails are helpful too, but big public thank yous, they're kind of twofold. They say thank you in a big public way, and they draw more attention to our cause. So consider that as part of your advocacy as well. More on inviting those stakeholders to your library. We did this recently by having Governor Inslee come to Meadowdale High School, which is in my school district, and we got to speak to him as librarians, and students spoke up and taught him their digital citizenship skills they had learned from their librarian. It's fantastic. And there's ways to make this a really meaningful event. You can invite, again, legislators, superintendents, school board members, prospective school board members is a good one. Even your principal. Has your principal come to your library in the past few weeks? Show her your new display. And invite local news if you're going to have a larger event or with a VIP attendee. And then that helps get our message even further. And then some tips for a successful visit. You want to plan early and communicate early, of course. You want to make sure you have an agenda for an event. Let people know who's going to be there, what's going to be discussed, and what the time frame is. Have the guest list. Know your talking points. And again, having the students there to speak, especially when we're talking about school libraries, is so impactful. I gave the presentation to Inslee, talked about school libraries and why we're important, shared some data. It may have landed, it may not have. But when those students told him, I learned how to spot fake news. I learned how to do a citation. I learned this and this. And he says, who taught you? And they all pointed to their librarian. That's what he's going to remember. So that was really important. So, and it shows that that the students are the focus of our work, and that's really impactful. And I see some chats. I'm just going to check this real quick before I move on. Oh, okay, there's thank you for sharing the slides.
I would just add, when Carolyn and I had a discussion recently getting sponsors for our bill this year, the head of the education committee recalled a visit from 3 or 4 years ago to the school library. So realize that the investments you make in pulling people into the library is a long-term good.
Absolutely. Thank you, Craig.
I think it's important, Erin, if you're going to invite legislators in, make sure your administration knows.
Yes, thank you for that. Should definitely probably been the first bullet on the successful event. Yeah. Make sure as you're doing this, your administrator is informed and on board and supportive. Yeah.
Another thought I had that might be kind of interesting, maybe you could do this in your school libraries, because I know it's going to be really hard between now and seriously, if you're going to contact your legislators, you need to be doing it now, between now and the start of session, which is January 9th, is to have your students create a little video in your library showcasing, you know, a couple minutes worth of a video that you could actually send to your legislators and say, here, you know, if they say they can't make it because there's not enough time, say, well, here's a video we did for you, so you can see what we do in our library and why this bill is so important to us. I really think that's an interesting way to do that. And you could really then have the students and showcase, you know, kind of talk to your administrators and say, can I put this together and do all the permissions and everything that you guys know you need to have to do that. But it might be a great way if they come back to you and say, we can't come in because there's just not enough time, say, well, we did this video for you, so here's a little virtual visit for you, and encourage a Zoom visit too, if that works.
Thanks, Carolyn. So this slide is just kind of a stop point to show you our website. This is the banner for the website. It is a Google site. It is, it's good. A lot of work has gone into it, but it's nothing terribly fancy, but it's got a lot of really great information. So I'm actually going to stop sharing for a second and go to that screen and then reshare. Let's see. Pardon me. And let's see. I will. Hi, I am in a meeting, but thanks. Sorry, my coworkers just popped in. Let me throw this in the chat real quick. So here is a direct link. Ah, there we go. Thank you. Directly to the website, and then I will share my screen. Zoom is so fun, isn't it? All right. So this is the website. The homepage right off the bat gives us some information, links to some research, talks about the equitable distribution, 3 ways to take action. So find your representatives. Again, this is the one that was up on that slide earlier. You can find out who to reach out to, and then reach out to them. And now my Zoom thing is like over my bar. There we go. That template for contacting, and then this kind of other website that I found that is useful when reaching out to invite people. Here's one place where we have the link to the postcards, and here's some talking points, and we have some social media images that came from the School Library Division's board, who's put a lot of work into this entire project. But we have these graphics that you can pull directly from this website, put them on your own Twitter. You're still tweeting. I don't know. Put them on your own Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is you might do for your library social media. These are kind of ready to go. And then we have this page here. So this comes from liveslide.org, this map right here. Someone was asking about the map. We are 32nd in the nation for number of teacher librarians per school currently. We're 34th in the nation for number of teacher librarians per student. And what we have found is that this data is optimistic even, but it's not entirely accurate because we don't have a solid way to gather this information in a really, we're doing the best we can with the information we have, and it is good information, and it definitely, I mean, one quick glance at this map gets the point across that there is an issue that we don't have equitable access to school librarians. But this has more information that you can use to share and for your own perusal. And it's also embedded right here. Then there's some more graphics. And then here we have research studies. So there's several citations. This one, Elizabeth Coker, is the one that was the WLA's white paper from 2015 that Carolyn talked about earlier. Really important, impactful work that I've seen quoted across the country and utilized across the country. It was a really well done study, and it's important because it is local information. So this is a great one to refer to when you're really digging into that information. We've got some others. Over here, we have the equity page, and then we have get involved. Again, how to contact representatives, Get social, and kind of rounds everything up that you can do to help build support and voice your support for school librarians in Washington school libraries, or Washington schools, I'm sorry. So that's just kind of a quick rundown of the website itself. I want to pause here, and because we've gone through a lot of information and shown you a lot of different things, and do a check-in and see what questions you might have currently, what thoughts you might have as well.
Aaron, I wanted to tag on the research that we did and earlier that Wilma did, and as was reported, is the basis of what we continue for advocacy as an all schools list that we partner with the state library and OSPI to try to have a as update as possible list of every school building in the state, and is there a librarian in the building or who answers to that task. And that's a continual update. And so I'll plug now, and people can shoot me their name in the chat if you'd like to participate in that ongoing updating, because that list is available, like I say, both to the state library, OSPI, and to WLA advocacy. And we've built it over the years, and we've built it for campaigns like this one. So it's a very good time if you're a librarian sort who likes to help update the librarians in the buildings that come and go. I'd love to hear from people.
Any questions on contacting your legislators or anything like that too? Because if anybody's, feeling a little insecure about, or if you're trying to get somebody to do this and they're feeling a little insecure about doing it, have them give me a call. It's not hard. They're really normal, nice people for the most part. It's usually, they're going to be really nice to you. It's usually just me as the lobbyist. They're not very nice to, so because they get irritated by all of us lobbyists by the middle of session. But the reality is they all, I have yet to find a legislator that doesn't support school libraries. So it's really, and when we work through all this stuff, we've done all these things, we get good votes out of the legislature on doing this. So it's just taking it this one step further to saying, hey, school districts, you can't just ignore having this completely. So.
Great question in the chat. The timelines. So how much time do we have to organize our colleagues? I'll let Carolyn speak to this.
Yeah, I can talk that.
Yeah.
So basically start now. We've got it now. Session starts January 9th. It's a 105-day session. But what will happen is the first wave, the bill will hopefully get that introduced. And so it'll be introduced on the very first day of session. It'll be ready to go. We have both education chairs willing to hear it. So should have hearings pretty quick. So what happens is you'll have this sort of thousands of bills are getting introduced. We need to make ours stays at the top and on top of everybody's mind. We have until about early February to do that and to move it out of the first committees. If we can't get it out of the first committees in at least one of the houses, the bill will be dead for session. And then after that, you've got to get it. It'll probably end up going to a fiscal committee. We're hoping not. We're hoping we've made enough changes that it won't have a state fiscal impact. So, but I would imagine the school districts will insist it goes there. So that'll give us another week, actually probably 4 days to get that out. So by mid-February, they're usually on the floor voting bills out of the first. They have to vote, the Senate has to vote their bills out of that Senate, and the House has to vote but their bills out of the House by about mid-February is the midpoint. I haven't seen the full exact calendar yet, and then they will cross over. So you're really looking at trying to do this first wave of good advocacy between now and probably about January 15th in order to make sure that we've got this bill not only heard, but voted on and out and ready to be voted on by the House of Representatives or the Senate. And because then it switches and we go through it all again on the other side. But the more we do now, the easier it will be then.
Great question. Thank you. Any other questions cropping up currently? All right. And then I saw someone had asked where they can access all these links so they can process later. And all of the information that's in the slideshow is on the website. All of those links to the template and the find your legislators and the data and research and everything is on that website. And the slideshow has been dropped in the chat several times as well.
Erin, is there a link to that website from the just the standard WLA.org as well?
Yes, I'm seeing.
Okay.
Not yes. I was like, I think so, but yes.
I always think about that person who's like, oh, I didn't save the links and I can't remember. So just
right.
go to .org.
So one other thing is we have a hashtag. So it's hashtag K12 Libraries for All WA. Let me show you go back to our, and if you search for that hashtag in social media, you will see where we have been posting, you know, links to the website, data here, a little bit this, a little bit that. We being the WLA Twitter and WLA School Library Division Twitter, which is managed by the School Library Board folks. But so it's K12 librarians, it's not just K12 libraries, but K12 librarians, the number 4, all WA is the hashtag. So you can follow and share on social media, and it can be all that information can kind of be aggregated. So, let's see. There we go. Thanks, Leslie. It's in the chat. All right, let me get back down to. Oh, sorry, it loves that little clicky. And then again, the postcards, we do have the form for that. Let me, that is on the website, but I also have the link up right here that I can drop in the chat for you. It's just a Google form, very quick and painless to fill out. And we will send you the postcards that you can send out to your, give out to your community to then send to your legislators so that they're getting all these bright, bold postcards in their mail that they can't ignore. And then we have there was one other thing in that slideshow. The logo merchandise at WLA's Redbubble store. So just put that in the chat. Let me share my screen one more time. We have shirts and stickers. You can get a light colored shirt with the dark colored font, dark colored shirt with light colored font, cute little stickers you can put everywhere. And they're easy to order. They look good. We've had a few folks try them on. This would be great to wear to Library Legislative Day. This would be great to wear to PTA meetings, wherever you want people to say, what's that about? So I got busy in my library all of a sudden, so I'm going to mute for a moment. Excuse me.
I want to add just the delight of seeing so many names who came today. And I want to thank everybody who took the time to do this today and to realize that you're part of a very large group of people working for the common good. So please don't hesitate to reach out to anybody you see here today. And if you're willing to help me update our contact list, by all means, shoot me a note. And if you're looking for company to host a visit, like Carolyn said, reach out to her, and feel free to reach out to WLA folks like myself who are happy to help you in this together.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Craig. So this is, you can see up here where you can email Craig, and yes, I want to reiterate thank you for being here and for your support, especially those of you who are not school librarians, but still understand the importance of not only of what school librarians do and the importance of working together as one library community, you know, but just supporting each other and having that strong advocacy voice that's all of us. It's really great to see. So thank you all. I'm going to flip back up here for just a second.
I've seen some things in the chat about Library Legislative Day. It's February 9th. And the best thing about that is it should be just the timing should be right for, we'll have our bills out of committee and be ready to start just full on lobbying legislators for their votes on the floor.
Yes, and that will be in person. We will be in Olympia at the Capitol. Will not be a virtual event, which will be exciting. And February 9th. Oh, and we've got a link. Craig is always so quick on the draw with the links. I love it. In the chat about Library Legislative Week. So it's now 4:40. I want to take some time for any Q&A, any thoughts that are bubbling up for you, questions you might have. If you want to say, hey, I want to do this thing, can someone support any of that? So I'm going to mute myself and open the floor.
Looks like everyone knows what to do.
I have a question I'd like to mention, or I'm not really so much a question as a past experience. And I guess the question is, how can we avoid this in the future or do better in the future? So about 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, there was a big bill that went through about, you know, changing the line item funding for the, where it said $20 per student for library materials.
Right.
And after a couple of years went by and I wasn't seeing any of this money, and I asked my principal, so can you find out why not? And she checked with the higher ups in the district and came back and said, well, on page 7 it said that, but on page 2 it said they didn't really have to pay attention to that. It was really only, there were certain things they had to do, and that was not. So what's the point of putting it in the law that says, but you don't really have to do it? So,
well, that's the prototype. That's the prototypical school model. That's the problem with it. It is a means of determining how much funding the district gets per FTE student. But they do everything in there that's defined as basic ed. So that's, if you remember the McCleary decision. So it's very difficult to get specific things. So this will help, this bill will actually make our library materials funding more meaningful at a district level. They're going to have to start looking at it because it says that they shall provide resources for in the bill we have, and removes those words as they deem necessary, making it more important for them to look at where are they putting those dollars. And frankly, it's up to the districts. And so if your district isn't using it, isn't doing it, you should have district advocacy go after the school board. It's their money, the money is there. They just use it for other things.
yeah.
And as a professional, association, district level advocacy is something that we can help with. That is, it's under the umbrella. We get this done, but that, this is a next step. This isn't the final step. And if the next step is, okay, we need to go over to district so-and-so and raise a little cane, as my Southern self shows up, we can do that together. We can help support those efforts too.
Yep.
And I was just going to add on to that is part of the Seattle contract that we got for our union this year. Actually, that was in there to get actual money into the schools. So now at least $9 of that money is actually going straight to the schools for school libraries, which is a huge thing. And it's very clear that it's for the librarians, and everyone's pushing back a little bit, but now it's in the contract. So yay.
It's super
awesome. Yeah, congratulations. And we have had a meeting with the Washington Education Association, and they know what we're trying to push for with this, and they are fully on board and supportive. So we have that union support as the school librarians, and that's going to be really important. And yeah, the union support can be really impactful, especially on that local and district level. That's a great.
I have a question to go along with that then. Is I filled out my thing and popped up libraries right at the top of my little survey. When do we find out what the results of those surveys are? Do you have any idea?
And you're referring to the WEA
Yes.
surveys.
Or is that totally, you'll hear about it when you hear about it?
I don't have an answer for it, but it sounds like you'll probably hear about it when you ask for it. And so if that survey has closed, let's follow up with WEA to hear what they've learned.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I see Elizabeth. Hi.
Hi, I have just something that I want to put out in this space because it's something I know I've been thinking about a lot. I'm on the steering committee for a school library division, so I've been part of many of these conversations, and even I struggle with this one. So I know we have a lot of WLA members who are not certified teacher librarians or not certified teachers. And I know that this has already come up. People have asked us questions as we start to advocate for this bill. And I guess my question to anyone, because I'm pondering it, is how do we respond to colleagues of ours who are amazing, wonderful, respected colleagues who maybe don't have their certification and are not happy with our push because it is a threat to their job? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
So I'm going to start with some clarification around the bill, and that a reminder that it does say that the district gets to decide how this is implemented. We're not requiring the person managing every school library to be a full-time school teacher, certified teacher librarian. So if we get this passed, it doesn't mean that someone who is a paraprofessional running a library or a non-cert staff running a library automatically is out. That's not what this particular bill does. What it does do is say that at least at the district level, the library program has to be run by a certified teacher librarian. There has to be a library program, and it has to be run by a certified teacher librarian, at least as an umbrella. And then the district can decide within that what they want to do. Now, if a district decides they see this and they see the importance of librarians, and they say, well, every one of our schools needs a certified teacher librarian, that could get complicated, right? But and I think that's going to be, because there is so much room within how this law is written to determine how it's going to be enacted. I think it's going to be maybe case by case and district by district to see what complications really do come up and what complications don't come up.
I think it's important to note that all the data and the studies have been on how having that certificated teacher librarian, the certified teacher librarian who has the specific training, how important that is to making sure you get the benefits of the school library information program. And that's super important. And that's why it's got to be referencing that, and that there needs to be some leadership at the top from somebody there's a reason you guys go through all that training. And there's some very important training in that, because it's also knowing what being a teacher is, that is super important as well. And so you can adequately work with the teachers or guide the people who are working on the libraries and the other district staff on how to work with it, how to work effectively and make sure the library is effective.
So what I'm hearing, oh gosh, I don't know how to turn my, okay. So when I read what you have for the legislature, what the legislature has, I read it as there needs to be a certified librarian in a district and then that person has to oversee at least all the libraries in the district. That's how I read it. That's what I mean, how it could be read, correct? Because that would mean we're saying that there are districts that literally have no libraries. Is that what we're saying?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so
Nothing.
the main focus is not to get a teacher librarian in every school. It's the focus is, or it's going to be read as, we have teacher librarians or a district librarian and libraries in every school. Is that really what it's?
It's basically teacher librarian running a program that is accessible to every student. How they do that will be up to the district at this point.
Okay. So Elizabeth, I don't think it changes anything about our district, but anyway, okay. So it's not getting a teacher librarian in every school. It's getting a library program in every school. Okay, thank you.
Getting a library program is accessible to every school. And it's going to probably mean every school for some of the larger districts. You have smaller districts where all their schools are on one campus.
Mhm.
You know, so they literally could have somebody at the district level, and then they've got 3 schools, you know, elementary, mid, and high.
The hope is also to do with the funding, right? We're part of the core education. We're part of the, Carolyn, help me, what's the word? The prototypical school model.
Yeah, we're part of basic ed.
We're part of ed, so we're supposed to have this funding. We've got the line item, and the hope is this will help us actually help libraries actually get that money that should be for libraries, and that it doesn't just get distributed elsewhere. So let's have library programs, let's have them run by a teacher librarian in at least some fashion, and let's fund them in the way that we've already kind of said you should be funding them, but there was this loophole.
And it also seems to me, and that it's important to remember that it's the teaching that happens in a library program at a school that's different from it, and having that specialized information and the knowledge of what do kids need to know about information and stuff that does come with the training and the dedication towards that, the teaching and student learning about very specific things that are not necessarily covered in other places. So, you know, if we want to be very consistent about how kids get information about evaluating information, that's one of those natural things that I think is very specific information that having a teacher librarian is great.
And I would add too that in districts where we do have in the contract that we have a certified librarian in every school, if we got that language in there, there's a timeline where people who are not certified teacher librarians can then move into that role. So it gives that leeway, and encouraging and supporting our amazing professionals who might still like to continue their education and add that certification. It could be a support that you could add, not necessarily putting their jobs at risk, but saying this is how we're going to grow our program. Just a thought.
It's certainly, this would provide the opportunity for there to be more resources to put into that in the future too.
Are there any other questions or thoughts? Okay, it's 4:54 on a Tuesday afternoon. So I don't know about y'all, but I just want to say thank you for being here. Utilize the resources on the website, reach out to us. I hope you'll get involved, and we appreciate your participation today and past and going forward. And yeah, see you around. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thanks
Thanks
everyone.
for showing up every day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.